One of our listeners, Blake, texted us. He lives in Atlanta, and he had to live in a 1,000 square foot condo in Atlanta during the pandemic. That sounds, whew, a lot of us were living right. Being able to get outside and, walk around. You're in a condo in Atlanta or Chicago or New York. Tough. He said his general manager who lives in New York used her fire escape to breathe fresh air and have wine.
I'd have lived out on that fire escape.
Wow. Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, the Azaleas in the Oaks. Award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, Azaleas in the Oaks courses, Philadelphia, Mississippi, Pearl River Resort. The show is also driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler Buick GMC in Brandon Pearl. Visit their website right now, FowlerBuickGMC.com. Fowler is Fowler. What do you got now?
Real quick before we go to Mike. A day on Twitter says, hell, Bo, I live in Kentucky, and I've never seen a Kentucky football shirt.
That's fantastic. That is. And I'm being dead serious, by the way. When I saw the guy at the beach with the Kentucky football shirt on, I have never run into someone who has had a Kentucky football shirt on.
Yeah,
Basketball, yes.
Outside of going to the game in Lexington 2 years ago, which we won't talk about, thanks, Joe Moorhead.
Right.
I've seen more Vanderbilt gear on vacation than I've seen Kentucky gear.
Thanks, Benny Snell.
True story.
And Josh, what was his name?
Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Just like the quarterback.
Defensive end, just like the quarterback of the Bills.
Yeah, he lived in Nick Fitzgerald's mouthpiece.
They never adjusted.
No.
He knew the snap count.
The whole game.
That's incredible.
We'll be all right.
All right, out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Welcome in NFL insider Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Cam Newton has signed with the New England Patriots. Mike, if Cam Newton is healthy, if he's healthy, and he's willing to do the Patriot way deal, I know that's two best-case scenarios. How could this look in New England, Mike?
Well, Bill is a genius as far as a coach. He's going to adjust Cam Newton's talent. He's always been that way in the fact that I remember having conversations with Rick Venturi, who worked with Bill in Cleveland, and they've stayed close friends ever since. Rick is the color analyst for the Indianapolis Colts today. And one of the things he'd always bring up was the fact that part of Belichick's genius is his ability to adjust in what he would like to do to what's best for the player. And he's always been really good at that. And so it's not Cam adjusting to Belichick. It's basically Belichick adjusting to Cam. And I think he'll do it. He understands the type player he is. The big difference is, and you bring up the health, and I think that certainly plays a big part, is the fact that the Panthers over the last few years have not been able to protect him, and have gotten him beat up physically. So the one thing the Patriots do, how many times have you seen Tom Brady on the ground?
Right. Not much.
They do a really good job protecting Brady, really good. And that's something that they've put high priority over the years, is protection. They're not dealing with a quarterback that can move around anything close to what Cam can do. And so the thing there is going to be is finding kind of the right adjustment on Belichick's part, game plan wise, to Newton, and I do think that he will do that really well. Now he doesn't have a lot of weapons to deal with. That part of the game, it's the blind spot for Bill. in that he has really struggled in the draft, picking players. And I can't tell you why. He does tremendous research. He goes through a lot of filters, but it just has not hit. He has been much, much better in grabbing a veteran who has maybe sort of bounced around a little bit and then finding the right spot. But he hasn't been great draft-wise. Nothing close. For as good as he is, I think in evaluating veteran NFL players, he is the flip side come draft day.
That's a great point, Mike. Mike Detillier, WWL
They've
Radio.
had a ton of picks.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the other part. They've had a ton to make it work, and yet it hasn't.
I think he overthinks it. I just think he overthinks it. It's paralysis by analysis. He's so good at the other, which you just described, a guy that's 4 years in the league, bounced around, but still has some serious juice in him. Bam, Bill brings him in because of the culture and the system. That guy, plays incredible for 2 or 3 years, and the Patriots not dump him, but let him go and let him do something else to get paid. But
they don't want to pay him.
Right.
That's the other part. 2 examples here with the Saints. One was Rob Ninkovich. The Saints picked him late in 2006. He was a backup linebacker here, also did a little special teams, a little bit of deep snapping. I think him and the linebackers coach here didn't get along well for whatever reasons. Saints cut him loose. He goes to New England. Rob Ninkovich had a really good NFL career with the Patriots. Really good. In fact, actually, Rob still lives here. I know he does work for ESPN, but he still lives on the North Shore in Louisiana and built a house. And, it just didn't work with the Saints. But yet, Bill was able to figure it out. The other part was Akeem Hicks. The Patriots sent him to Human at tight end for Akeem Hicks. And Hicks goes there, and the Saints did not have a vision for Akeem Hicks. Didn't. He goes because when you were talking to guys that were going up against him in practice or playing with, they were like, man, he is really talented. I don't know what's going on here. And he goes to New England, and I would say the final 5, 6, 7 games of the year was really good. Now, he wanted a lot of money, and they said, no, we're not going to pay you. He goes to Chicago, and he's been a really top-flight player there. But it was Bill that figured out how to put him in the right spot. So that was 2 players right here from New Orleans that didn't fit in here for whatever reasons. And they go over, and make it, so to speak, in New England. Akeem got paid in Chicago, but you really saw it in New England. So, again, that is part of Bill's genius as a coach in that he figures it out. Now, college players, that's a totally different story. He just has not been able to do it. And at one time, he relied a lot on Nick Saban, especially when Nick was here at LSU. It was like LSU North. At one time, they had 9 former LSU players on that Patriots team. And so he relied on Nick giving him good information. And then it became Urban Meyer.
Yes.
And he had a ton. At one time, had 7 University of Florida players on the team. So he relies on certain people to give him information. And, it's just part of it that it goes to show no one's perfect. Again, for as great a coach as he is, there got to be a flaw somewhere. And that's what it is with Bill. I think if Cam stays healthy, he'll do well in New England. And he has always been a guy Belichick has talked very highly of as a player and saw some of the attributes with him With that, now again, they're going to have some inconsistencies. He's not going to be this high percentage passer. That doesn't, that's not going to turn around. Well, boy, he's going to cause you some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And even people in Vegas who think that, the Patriots are basically a middle-of-the-road team, with the signing of Cam, it's got them thinking about that over and under a little bit on how to change it or if they're going to change it. Put it to you that way.
What if what if Belichick and McDaniels, we're visiting with Mike Detillier, NFL insider on the Miller Lite guest line, talking Cam Newton to the New England Patriots. What if they convince him to start to slide all the time and run out of bounds? What could that do for the next 3 to 4 years of his career, even if it's not all in New England?
For most people at quarterback, 31 years old, you're in your peak. That you would have an additional 7, 8 years to play, and probably 3 or 4 at a really, really high level. So, again, it's typical Belichick to do this, but he has never had to do it at the most critical position at quarterback. He's never had to because he's had Brady through that time frame. So that's the questionable part of it, of what it'll do for his career. Would they be willing to pay him if he has a huge season? It's part of, what rolls through Bill's head. First things first is, this did tell you, for all the talk that Jared Stidham's the guy, you signed Cam Newton. It told you that even Belichick is not convinced at this stage. Because if he was, why would he sign him?
Right. So you mentioned Vegas, bumps New England by half a game.
Yep. And listen, that takes, for people kind of out of the realm, that does take a lot.
Sure.
Because of the fact that they have spent a lot of time in piecing this together, and knowing someone sort of I grew up with down here, and that's part of his job for the Wynn Corporation. I can tell you they spend a lot of time. It's a great prop bet. I mean, they get a lot of action on that. That's all I can tell you. And they do spend a tremendous amount of time trying to get it close, as close as they can be with it. And we're talking about they doing this in, March and April. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while they'll move some team because of what happens on draft day. They'll make a little bit of a move, and it's either a half game, and I've seen it maybe once, a full game, because of a trade and everything else. So that does tell you how much time they do put in. This isn't 3 or 4 guys saying, I think 6 is good, 7 is good. Come on. They don't have those bright lights in those casinos because they're losing money. Because I hear people all the time tell me, oh, they're not that good. And I was like, really? Look at the point spreads each week and see if they're not good. Just look at that. Those guys are pretty doggone good at what they do. And again, Vegas wasn't there because you winning money off of them. They're there because you losing money. And they do a pretty good job with it. But it gave a lot of thought to it on the Sunday and the Monday on exactly kind of where to go with this. Because I think their feeling is similar, is that Bill has had great success with veteran players, and that this might work. And in a AFC East where everyone is picking the Bills, basically. Okay, we know that the Jets, who knows where they land. And if they don't pay Jamal Adams, it goes to show you that this franchise has taken kind of one step forward and two steps back constantly. I think Miami's headed in the right direction, but they're not there yet. The Patriots are still a player.
Let's pivot here. Mike, we've got a few minutes. Mike Detillier, NFL insider, and New Orleans insider, WWL Radio TV New Orleans on the Miller Lite guest line. Let's talk Arch Manning. Archie Manning's grandson, Cooper Manning's son, now grabbing headlines. Obviously, Cooper went to Ole Miss. Archie Eli went to Ole Miss, but he looks like a national recruit at some point. Still only going into, help me out, Mike, the 10th grade. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Tell me what you know.
2023 recruit.
2023 recruit. What do you know about Arch Manning to date?
Having watched him, he's a lot like Grandpops in that he is a much more of a movement player than Eli and Peyton ever was. His game is similar to his grandpa. He's much more similar to Red than he is to Eli and Peyton. In that, man, he can move around, throws the ball well. He's accurate. He's smart. I'll tell you a story Arch tells me. This was maybe 4 years ago. We watching quarterbacks throw the football on the Thursday afternoon. And I see him coming around with the golf cart, and he says, "Get in." He said, "I need to show you something." And so I get in, and he wheels me around, and there's a kid with glasses on throwing to another young man. And he's arching this thing 35, 40 yards. I'm like, "Man, who is that?" He looks at me, he says, "That's my grandson." He says, "That's little Arch." And I'm like, "Whoa. Man, he can really throw the football." He said, "I'm going to tell you a story." He said he's playing football, organized football, and he said, "Mike, he's really, really good." He says, he comes to me, he said, "Pops," he says, "can you give me some advice on playing quarterback?" And Arch was, man, Arch, listen, I'd like to, but, it's been a long time since old Red played quarterback. You might be better off talking, to Uncle Eli and Uncle Peyton about it than me. And Art said, it finally popped in my head. He said, "You know what?" He says, "I'm going to tell you something." He said, "When you are the quarterback of the team, you have to take charge. You got to be in full control." So he said, most of that happens is when you're in the huddle, because you're going to have guys talking at you or talking to you. And you got to kind of put your foot down and tell them, "Hey, listen, I'm in charge here. This is what's going to be," and call a play. And he said, man, he said, little Arch is listening. He said, "I'm going on and on about it." So finally, he said, when I stopped, I said, that's first thing I can tell you about it. He said, "Pop," he says, "I don't think that's going to do me any good." Arch said, "Well, why not?" He said, "Because we call plays at the line of scrimmage." So Archie threw his hands up and said, "What the hell am I going to tell him?" At that stage, he's telling me we don't even have a huddle. So he said, "Man, I'm way beyond the par on that particular deal." But man, he is really, really gifted. I see what's happening with Coop to try to shield him from what I think is going to be the most high recruited football player in the history of Louisiana high school football.
How about that?
He basically said, "I'm going to do." So he had to go to Atlanta, and they moved the game up because we were going to have bad weather on the Friday. So they moved it up to the Thursday. So Archie texted me and said, "Listen, if you go to the game, kind of keep me abreast of what's happening." I said, "Sure. I'll let you know what's going on." So the head coach at St. John's Catholic, Frank Monica, is an old friend of ours, and Frank is also a counselor at the Manning Passing Academy. So Archie texted him and told him, said, "Frank, I'm not going to be able to go. I got a speaking engagement, and you moving up the game because of possible bad weather on Friday. I'm not. So Frank wrote him back, said, "Man, listen, safe travels, Archie." He said, "If you get a chance, take a little Arch with you too." That's typical Frank, And I'm telling you, he put on a show. Now they lost the game because they gave up 2 touchdowns on special teams, on run backs, but man, he was great throwing the football. He's poised. He has gotten much bigger, much stronger, and it'll be interesting to watch his recruitment because, man, I can't see him going to LSU. And I know Coach O's been on him from day one. Somebody sent me a picture. They were at a 7-on-7 a year ago, and he had told me the day before, I'm going to watch a little Arch. I was like, okay, I got you. And, so somebody sent me a picture of him and Archie talking together, and then there's a golf cart, and there's Cooper and Archie and Coach O, Joe Brady, Steve Ensminger, and Mickey Joseph. And so I wrote the guy back. I said, go tell Bobby they can't put nobody else on a golf cart. But so, I get it. Who knows what's going to happen at Ole Miss by 2023? Success or non-success with Lane Kiffin. If, you would assume there with Tennessee, I think they'll certainly be in the mix. 2 teams I would watch, and that would be Clemson, because of the great success they've had at quarterback and also Archie's relationship with Dabo Swinney. And also Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, quarterback whisperer. So it's going to be a national recruit situation for Arch. But in a year in Louisiana, where there's a quarterback from Zachary, Eli Holstein, who's a 6'3", 180-pound quarterback today, who's already been offered by LSU. I mean, so, man, he's going to turn out to be, he's going to be a big man one day. And Jai Eugene Jr., now, the name's familiar. His dad was a former defensive back at LSU, Jai Eugene. And Jai Eugene Jr. is a left-handed quarterback at Destrehan High School, which is right up the road from where I live, and a power in high school football in Louisiana. They got 3 of them in the state.
Good
all at the same time.
All nationally recruited QBs in the 2023 class, along with Arch Manning. That's incredible. And Mike may nail it. It may be Ole Miss, Clemson, Oklahoma, and LSU battle. I mean, there'll be some others, but that may be kind of the 4 in the game. Mike, thank you, buddy.
I can't see him going to Ohio State or Michigan. Put it to you that way.
Thanks, Mike. See you, bud.
Thank you, brother.
At Mike Detillier on Twitter. He joined us on the Miller Lite guest line. You're listening Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The show is driven by your next GMC Yukon. That's a cool SUV at Fowler Buick GMC in Brandon Pearl. Hit the website right now, FowlerBuickGMC.com. Special guest coming up next.